Here's our first if-else exercise in the scheme. Now keep it simple. What I mean by that is there really isn't any need for ands and ors in this example using, well, the hurricane categories that we have that you see here. So notice the spread between the minimum, moderate, and all the different categories that we have here. But all you're doing is building, well, a scheme file called win.scm or .rkt if we're doing racket. That'll basically do this. Notice I am asking for user input, which you'll have to go to previous set of notes to remember. If you need that, don't forget about that. Make sure that once you come up with a solution, that you've tested it for all 5 of the categories to make sure it works. I know a lot of us just pick one where you see the thing works and that's it. You can't do that in Scheme. You might be able to get away with it now. You really shouldn't and can't really. But once we get to lists and recursion, which is very, very soon, you're not going to be able to get away with that. Especially since all of that is using conditions, and that's exactly what we're obviously covering right now. So take a look at this. Go and get working on it. And here in a little bit, we'll show you some solutions. But please get to work. So here are some solutions for that problem. Now notice I said solutions only because, frankly, they're all doing the same thing, but how they're set up is different. So just a heads up on this one. Like this first one that we have right here. So notice we're using racket for this one, using that pound lang and racket. You see that we are going ahead and, well, we're setting some type of priming read with our inner wind speed. Then we have our read of the actual wind speed and then display wind speed. That's supposed to be some type of debugging statement. But notice our nice and solid if statements. The funny part is I'm not sure why this line right here with the with the wind is greater than 155. I'm not sure why that's not indented with everything else. I don't think it's because of the document here, and maybe it wouldn't have fit. I'll have to double check that. But notice overall, though, there's a nice fit between where the parentheses start and an end for each one of those. It's pretty easy to read, and there is some type of pattern that's with it. So that's really, really important to have. So let's start our version 2 here. Version 2 looks a little simpler than the other one for some reason. I'm not certain why. Let's see here. No, it just doesn't have as many tabs in it, I guess. But notice the overall setup is exactly the same. Again, a nice pattern with their if-elses, and then of each of the, I know it says display, but just think of it as in whatever would have happened if that condition is true. That's exactly what this function would go ahead and do. So that looks good. There's no else in that last one. Let's see here. The other one didn't have an else either. That's interesting. That's okay. And then here's our version 3. This one's just using a less than or equal to instead, but there's really no change or anything crazy about it. So that's our versions that we have for this solution. Notice they weren't very different at all. It's just maybe how they looked a little bit and exactly what symbol that they hadn't been used as well was the only thing that was really different between all the samples that you see.